Hey everybody, Brian here. So in this video, we're going to have a look around this newer version of Ioniq6. And what we'll do is we'll compare off the previous version just to see what the kind of differences are between them. So hopefully by the end of the video, you'll have a better idea of what's new on the new model. And we'll go for a quick drive in the car as well. And we'll have a look around the features on the inside when it's brighter. Ioniq6, completely Marmite shape, the previous model. So some people liked it, some people didn't. It was an extremely efficient shape with a drag coefficient of about 0.21, but the shape wasn't for everyone. In Ireland, we got an 18-inch wheels. Some of you guys in other parts of the world would have got a 20-inch wheel, and I really think that made a difference. So in Ireland, thankfully now we get a 20-inch wheel as standard. So anyway, if you can bear with me, I'm going to show you the kind of differences on the outside on this newer model. And then we're going to go for a drive, and then afterwards I'll show you the inside. This one's an N-line model. I will have another video because in Ireland we'll also get another specification platinum, but for the moment this is more like an overview of the differences I see on the very first N-line one that we've received here. So the biggest thing is, right, in my opinion, the car on the left hand side in the newer model, it almost just looks like a completely different car. It's funny how you can have such a big difference in a car by literally changing bumpers and lights. One thing is, so if we're comparing this first generation to the second generation, looking at it here, these cars, I think it is fair to say that they are pretty well lined up beside each other. When we come around to the front, the new car is 70 millimeters longer. It's 7 centimeters longer. And actually most of that is literally bumper overhang because the wheelbase is the same. So the new one looks like a much bigger car. Right. On the previous generation, you had intelligent lighting on some of the models. And there was kind of 8 different LEDs that governed, just in case you're not familiar, and I've loads of videos on this stuff, like this one here. But what it's doing is the full lights stay on and it just drops the LED that's about to blind that person. So it can light up around the car in front or the object or whatever it is. So it works really, really well. So that was kind of based on 8 LEDs, whereas on this new one then, down here, sorry, they have moved into 12 different LEDs that do that. So there's going to be better lighting on the new model. And to be fair, the lighting was actually really good on the previous model. Looking down along through here, if you look at the bumper shapes, so it's a much softer looking shape along here. This because it's an N-line, and I will have another video with the platinum version, but it's much more aggressive looking. So it's the way this kind of, if you look here, kind of round and soft, whereas over here, much more aggressive and angular, big vents in through here. I really love these lights. And in through here then, so on this one, the indicator was here, whereas the indicator is now up through here. So let's just have a quick look at those while they're turned on. And again, I think that contributes to the front end of that car just looking, it's just much wider and sportier looking than the previous version. And while we're doing that, actually, let's go down the side and have a quick look at the rear lights. So a massive difference on the rear we're going to see in a sec. At a glance, they look like literally, oh yeah, there's the LEDs and there's the LEDs along there. But actually, when you start examining them, the little LEDs are actually kind of bigger on the newer model compared to the older one. And again, you'll see, and that bumper was kind of sporty enough actually on that version. There was lots of different lines and angles. Again, this one, because it's the N-line, just along here, this kind of vented section, and it's taken a lot of that DNA from the high performance 640 horsepower N version. But again, much more aggressive looking on the new model compared to the older one. And I think like a saloon car kind of, aggressive looks are cool on a saloon car. The bumpers move up into, now this is hard to see because this car is a grey coloured car. This section here is black. So even if the car was white or a different colour or red or whatever it is, this would still be a big black section. Some people will like that, some people won't. I think on the grey car, it's super awesome looking. And I like the way then, and I used to like this light that goes across, and we'll see on the premium one, it'll still remain like that. But over here on this N-line version, then you'll see the LEDs turn into these smaller LEDs here, and then you've got this Ioniq6 embossed along through there as well, and it's quite a shiny black, piano black kind of finish. The other thing, if you're hawk-eyed enough, you will have seen it already. So we had 2 spoilers up here. So there was a lower mounted spoiler, which was this one here, and then there was the higher mounted spoiler, and that was all part of trying to get the drag coefficient really, really good on this car. Anyway, they've managed to maintain the same drag coefficient by getting rid of this spoiler. I think that's much cleaner looking, and they've gone for a much bigger duckbill spoiler along here. So this was a soft one, whereas this one is way, way bigger and effective. On this version of N-Line, and I will have a video comparing the Platinum and the N-Line, you can see there's more black underneath. So if this was like a white car or red car, this section here would still be black. You can see there, like before, the button for opening up and closing the boot, and also the reverse camera. They're housed here, but a little bit more prominent on the newer model. Because it's N-Line, you've got these lovely matte black badges. And then you can see the shape of where the reverse lights and the fog lights are over through here. I don't have a driver, so I'm going to have to, I can't show you what the reverse lights look like, but I will show you what the fog lights look like. So it looks like on the previous model, well, it definitely wasn't the previous model, 2 fog lights, whereas it looks like we've got 1 over here now, and that means I assume the reverse light is over here. This one did have, and it was one of the things when this car came out, they were very much about all this pixelation and lighting and all that stuff. So you had a massive brake light along through here and lots of brake lights going on through there. I'll get to it in a sec. There was a regen version along here, which I did find a little bit more aggressive on this one. And if you're driving behind one, you'll see the brake lights on quite a bit, and you'll think the driver's braking a lot, but it's actually just kind of part of how the regen works. On the newer version, it's a regen 3.0, so they reckon it's more relaxed and it's not as aggressive, and it's less jerky or whatever. So I think that'll be a big improvement. And where that spoiler was with a brake light, it's now recessed up in here as kind of an early part of the back window per se, if that makes sense. Now I'd assume that was the area where the brake or the spoiler used to sit. So if you look at the way that's mounted, it's probably mounted in that exact area. So what they've done is literally taken the spoiler up, left piano black along through there, and put the brake light in through there. But it makes a much cleaner car looking down the side. I'll show you. So comparing the rears, I think the wheels, the 20-inch wheels, make such a big difference. So you'll see the spoiler in through here. It's nearly a little bit hidden by the tinted window on the other one. That is just a cleaner look overall. I'm really loving this car. I love the big fat bumpers, and at the price point it's been introduced into Ireland, it's actually kind of going to be able to challenge, I think, the likes of BYD Seal and also Tesla Model 3. Let's have a look at the front profile. So again, 20-inch wheels, big winner, but when you're looking at the kind of overhang along the front, it's just much more modern looking, and like that was a fairly funky looking car when it came out, but the new one is just much more aggressive and kind of up to date, and it's just a lot sportier. Again, I am a little bit enthusiastic, maybe totally biased, probably am, but I just think that is absolutely awesome looking car, that new version. It's kind of like the Ioniq6 that I think we would have wanted up front. Really aggressive looking, really modern looking. Wheels make such a difference. But like, if you put the 20-inch wheels on the previous model, very, very nice. However, when you couple it up with the changes they've made on these bumpers and stuff like that as well, it really looks like just a different car. One other thing I want you just to take note of, looking down the side, there was a side skirt which is like a matte finish. So look at the shape of the side skirt. It kind of curves inwards almost. And then let's move around to this other one. And the side skirt is longer and squarer, so it's kind of fatter overall. So when you look down the side along here, you can see this side skirt curving inwards, whereas this one here kind of stays symmetrically straight all the way down the side. One other thing you might notice as well, the lower part of this door kind of curves in quite a bit, whereas this one not so much, and the main reason is it has these kind of moldings that are down through here, and they kind of make the car look a little bit wider in tandem with those side skirts. So again, that's contributing to all this kind of stuff. When a car has features that make it look slightly lower to the ground, slightly wider, slightly fatter, all that stuff contributes to, in my opinion, a much nicer looking car, and in this case a much more aggressive looking car as well. Like even just looking in here, look at the size of that kind of front lip that comes out from the bumper, again, compared to the other one, which was more soft. Now we will see this on the Platinum version of the new model when I do that video. It probably won't be as aggressive as what we see in N-Line here, but it'll still have all the nice shapes in the bumper and the nice lights and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it's a little bit dark inside, so we are going to move outside and we're going to drop off the old model and we'll just start concentrating on the new model. Before I do that, I just want to show you one thing. On the previous model, so on the previous model, if I unlock the car, headlights come on and taillights come on. On the new model, there's actually like little patterns, and I would imagine, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to buy variations of those patterns. So when I unlock the car, you'll see there's some kind of stuff that happens on the rear lights. I know some people will say it's gimmicky or whatever, but I think we're living in the world of gimmicks these days. Like, even if you see people changing their locking sound on their Tesla to the noise of a fart or whatever it is, we live in a gimmicky world, and some of this kind of stuff is cool anyway. So you just get these different patterns, and I think you'll be able to change that by buying it through a subscription service. So if you've watched so far, I appreciate it. What we're going to do now is move into the next morning, where it's going to be bright. We'll focus on the new model by itself. We'll go for a drive, and then we're going to look at the inside, and we'll just bring back in the older model then, just to compare the differences on the dash and the screens and the steering wheel and the seats and that kind of stuff. Okay, so it is the next morning. Well, actually afternoon. Just a quick look around the outside of the car again in the light of day. So one thing about the front of this car, it kind of reminds me of, has this kind of sharky look almost, kind of like the front of a shark, if that makes sense. I know people use that when they're advertising stuff, and it's super cheesy, but just when you look at the shape of the front of the car, it has that kind of sort of sharky look about it. Anyway, I could be talking crap, but I do think it's super aggressive at the front. That is a cool looking car. Shout out to Lidl, who always get in the background of every video I ever seem to do. So this is the first day we've had the car here. A lot of people have walked in past it this morning and kind of asked about it, and they'd be regular customers of the garage, and just when you explain it's Ioniq6, they just didn't think it was the same car as before from the front. The rear is easier to identify for sure, but and actually one thing I really like is this color grey. And the reason is, so I think grey kind of looks well in any of the N-lines anyway, but when you look at it up close, it has this kind of greeny effect. When you look actually at the colour of grey, grey has green running through it. It's kind of how you mix grey. Well, a lot of grey coloured cars will have green running through the paint, but this one shows the green up a little bit more. I think it looks really nice. Do you know what we'll do? Before we go for a quick drive, if you don't mind, I think I'm just going to show you some of the interior differences between this one and the previous generation. So we'll start comparing off this car again. One point of note, this is an N-Line, so there will be a Platinum version. So I will do a video which compares Platinum versus N-Line and the differences in terms of the inside and the outside. Anyway, this is just more kind of Generation 1 versus Generation 2 sort of video. I'm hoping this new speaker I'm using is stopping the wind noise. I had a good customer called Brendan, and Brendan said to me, get some speakers when you're recording videos, and it'll improve the noise or reduction of noise more so. And so hopefully this video sound quality is a lot better than what I normally have. Anyway, what I've done here is pulled this, and I've pulled this same as before. It's still a 401 litre boot, so it's still generous, but like before, then you got a 60-40 split. So if you do something awkward, and I have used Ioniq6 before to buy things like long reach hedge trimmers and all that kind of stuff, and fold down the seats pretty successfully, so it does work that way. The aperture, yes, on any of these kind of coupe, kind of saloony kind of cars, the aperture gets smaller than what you see in other vehicles, which are hatchbacks and SUVs, but it's the nature of the beast when you're looking at a car like this, usually, besides some of the Skodas, but that's the size of the boot. And then under here, so you'll have like your charging cable. There's a much better way to store that, obviously. Puncture repair kit, and I would tend to store stuff down in this little storage area down here instead. Closing down the boot can be from the key, or I can just use the button. Actually, while we're around here, let's have a quick look at the charge cap. So the charge cap is a slightly different shape than before. This looks a little bit different, just with obviously DC charging and AC charging. So like, it's a nicer looking texture, not particularly effective, but just looks nicer. Whereas the previous generation was more of a kind of a round shape. Actually, no, the texture is the same. I didn't realize that. My bad. Okay, that is not any different. But this is more of a kind of a rounder shape. Whereas this one is kind of like a bigger, wider oval shape. Can't give you any advantage for that, but it's different. In the rear, I've got heated seats, which have 2 stages, usual electrics. So this is an N line, dark black, sort of perforated plastic material along in through there. Some storage, skid plate, a little bit of dirt from my shoe, unfortunately. Half leather interior, but we are going to see on the other video that I do with the Platinum, you will have more leather and different two-tone interiors as well, so we'll get back to that in the next video. So for the moment we're just concentrating on N-line storage and stuff in through there. USB connectors in through here. One thing about this newer one, the USB connectors are faster than before, so you're up to 100 watts when you're charging, so your phone or any devices you're using should charge faster. Size of the car inside is going to still be the same, which was super generous before. Like, one thing on this older car, like the headroom is decent, but the legroom was absolutely ridiculous in this car. It is super long, and that seat is all the way back. Don't take my word for it. I've never heard anyone say that the back seats in these cars do not have unbelievable legroom. So this one being the previous model here, then, just looking at that, shape of the seats, space. Okay, this one was an Elegance, so it did have ventilation in through here, so that's slightly different. But I think our replacement version, this being the Elegance, the next one which replaces it being the Platinum, will have that kind of stuff. So, but for the moment, I don't see any major changes along there. These ones had the vehicle to load, so you did have like a 3-pin socket inside. And the shape of the doors, if you look at the plastic along here, it's kind of solid rather than sort of perforated. Different colors. Bear with me on this, because this N line here has different colors interior to this Elegance here, but I think our Platinum version of this will have more brushed aluminium than the N-line version. So overall, between the new and old model, boot size, rear space in the rear, much the same, and in my opinion was very good. Actually, no, let me show you, right? I'm going to move the seat forward for a sec into a position that I'd normally sit in. So let's see. Right, I'm 6 foot. I would normally sit like that in the car. I think that's fair. Enough room around the cowlings and all that kind of stuff. And let's get back into the back again and sit behind me. And that's what I mean. It is absolutely massive in the back. Oh, sorry, the vents are there. What am I talking about? Having a great day here. Sorry, the vents are there already, so really no difference that way. They also talk about a dome shape. So when you're looking at the size of the car, kind of low at the front, low at the rear, but it has a dome shape, so it kind of goes up. And that does make sense, because when you look at the headroom that's around you, I'm buried all the way to the back here, so this is the lowest point for the headroom, and it has to be that way for aerodynamic efficiency. But when you're looking here, you'll see there's quite a bit of a round dome shape to give more headroom to the driver and passenger up front. Okay, let's refresh our memory really quick on the previous model and how it was laid out in through here. So look at the buttons. Controls for windows, controls for heated seats. Sorry, what am I talking? I promise I'll get better. Sorry, I'm having an off day here. Central locking, electrics or windows, child lock for the rear doors and rear windows, auto hold. The phone for me used to fall out of this. I didn't think it was very good in here. The phone used to fall off. Didn't like it. USB-A and some exposed drinks holders and some storage. So bear in mind, that's where we were with the previous one. And I think they've done a better job here on the next generation. And the reason is exposed drinks holders still. Armrest. It might sound like a small thing, but the armrest, what about the sun here for a sec? The armrest is a little bit lower than before. And you kind of say, well, why would that be a good thing? It kind of, in this area here, gives you a bit more freedom around there. Sometimes your elbow might hit, depending on how you sit in the car and all that kind of stuff. But what I really like here is this now has an area where it stops the phone rolling around the place. And if you want to get your finger underneath the phone to lift it, you can do that there. The other one, it was a little bit clumsy. Like we said, USB-C now, so we're into 100 watt charging. This charges at 15 watts, so like every wireless charger, none of them are super fast, but it's better than before. These are more to the driver, so they're in the center before, where they've moved over towards the driver, which I think is a better job. Central locking like before. Child locks for electric windows and doors, usual electrics. But what I like up here now is the heated steering wheel is here, and the heated seats are here. So why is that good? Before you had to go into a menu or up into a menu here, whereas now buttons are coming back. And I don't think it's an old person, young person thing. Buttons are good. Human beings do well with buttons, so we're getting a lot more buttons in cars. Massive storage down in through here again. That was the same as before. And then moving up through here. So let's just remind ourselves how this looks on the previous model. So previous generation, starting the car. So in through here, controls for driver, controls for passenger, front and rear demisters, speed up or slow down the fan. But yeah, this is where you had to go into a separate menu if you wanted to use things like heated seats or heated steering wheel. So this screen is quite similar, where the start stop button is kind of incorporated a little bit differently than the previous one. But in through here, the way that works, slightly different, but not terribly dissimilar. So fair enough, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. One thing, however, that is on the new model, Smart Zone. Smart Zone's really cool, right? Because it knows I am by myself. If I turn off Smart Zone, it would assume that I want air blowing all around the car. So, right, that seems like nothing new. You had that on the previous ones where you had driver-only zones. So if it was only the driver in the car, it would just blow towards the driver. Fair enough, no point in heating the rest of the car. But what it's doing now is when the heating's on, there's seat sensors, and the seat, so if you had one person here and one person over there, it knows to redirect air to here and into the back, or if it's only two people in the front, or whatever it is. So it uses sensors in the seat to know where people are sitting and then redirect air in the most aerodynamic, in the most efficient way possible, and then to not direct areas at air where nobody's sitting. So kind of cool. Okay, back into previous generation. Let's remind ourselves about the screens. So later. So to be fair, actually, there was quite a nice big screen on Ioniq6 when it came out. The operating software was okay. All the things you'd expect, like reverse cameras and all those kind of things, are in through here. The other one I'm showing you, N-Line, is not a 360 camera, but the Platinum one in the new model will be. So there will be a model that has reverse camera, and there will be a model that has 360 camera. So just for today, we're really just looking at how the screen works. So all that kind of stuff, pretty straightforward in through there. If we compare that, and actually, do you know what, just bear this in mind, around here, and the way it's one big screen in through there. The main thing you'll see that's changed in the new one is the operating software and how that looks, but it's a little bit faster on the new one. Just while we're there, remind yourself, and just bear with us for a sec, check out this shape of the steering wheel. So it's like two spokes, and it has a drive mode function in through here. So just bear that in mind for a sec. Knobs for lights and wipers and regenerative braking and all that kind of stuff in through there. So bear this in mind, and let's go look at the other one. So back into the phase 2. Now this is an N-Line, so it has that N-Line steering wheel, which is pretty damn nice. But even if you go for the Platinum, it'll still have a 3. So the other one's like 2 spokes, as we saw. We're always into like a 3-spoke steering wheel, which, in my opinion, I think is much nicer. And then I really love this N one. I think it looks really cool. On the Platinums, I think the drive mode will be like what we saw on the other car, but on these ones here, the drive mode is up through here. And that's just for throttle sensitivity and how the air conditioner works and cruise control levels, making them less or more aggressive. You'll see also on the N-Lines here, then the the regenerative braking paddles. They're a little bit more aggressive looking on this, but I think they are a different shape on the Platinum. On the next video, we'll see that. Wiper and light stalks, they're the exact same as before. This is new, which is monitoring your eyeballs. So if your eyes are off the road, it will give you a warning to say that you haven't been looking at the road. Screens, you'll see it looks very similar at the start. These are dual 12.3 inch screens, but the operating software is the newer version of the operating software, and admittedly it is faster and a little bit less clunky than the previous one. And you'd expect that. It's a newer version, so the operating software should be better than the previous model. Just while we're here, I don't really need to show you on the other one because they're the exact same. So things like handbrake, controls for the boot, controls for locking the charging cable, controls for mirrors, that's all the exact same as before. And the shifter in through here, the fly-by-wire setup, that's still the exact same as before. You will have things like blind spot indicators, which were on the previous generation up through here. And then this one, big camera like we had before. And then after that, you'll also have front and rear park sensors as standard as well. So we're going to go for a drive. Just a quick reminder, there is electric seats on the previous generation, and the new one will be the same. For anyone that's curious what's under the bonnet, the previous generation had a big frunk, but it had a plastic cover on the bottom. So the new one, again, electric seats will continue on. Of course, I didn't unlock the car properly. So electric seats continue for driver and passenger. And you also get the frunk, but the frunk now looks like it's got a carpet at the bottom. So I think that's nice. Right, so what we'll do is, I think we'll go for a drive and we'll have a chat about some of the other stuff like charging and how the car drives and all that kind of stuff. Okay, real quick, if you're going to get into the car, you would use the, so you see the handles are auto flush, so I can use from the key or I can just press the button and they open up like so. Anyway, to start the car, I would press the start stop button there. Startup sequence looks like that. And then down here, I'd move the seats forward, backwards, lumbar support, all that kind of stuff. That's fine. Then what I'm trying to do is just give you some idea of what it feels like or what you do in a normal person starting to drive the car. Safety belt on. And then what we're doing is selecting gears down through here, forward, backwards. If you haven't driven an automatic car before, it's new to you. It's literally go. Oops, that would be good to go forward, not backwards, because there's a big garage behind us. Start and stop. So many people we find now are actually only learning how to drive automatics when they move into EVs. So anyway, let's go for a drive. So if you haven't driven an EV before, they're pretty quiet. So nice interior when it comes to cruising on the road. One thing they have gone for is kind of noise reduction on these. So all the windows are double glazed and their tyres that are on them are a specific tyre to reduce rolling resistance kind of noise. And then after that, there's these kind of little sounds that are pushed into the cabin to try and offset the other road noises and other ambient noises that you would generally find in a car in an EV like this. So it is pretty quiet inside. One other thing, actually, just thinking out loud. So this car, 84 kilowatt hour battery, so about 228 horsepower. No one in Ireland's ever going to use it, but top speed 185 kilometers an hour. Charging. So with these cars, you will have the ability to charge up to around 233 kilowatts at the very top of the charging cycle. But for most people, when they think about it, you're going from 10% to 80% on a super fast charger, giving you about 351 kilometers in about 18 minutes. Other than that, if you're charging from home, it's taking on about 7 kilowatts every hour. So for most people, if they went home with 20 odd percent or 15%, they'd be charging for maybe 8 hours overnight or something like that. One other thing as well, this car will have V2L. I know I barely covered it, so essentially you can plug one side of this into the car and the other side then will have a 3-pin socket. It'll give you about kind of 3.6 watts. So you can run a lot of different devices off that, and it's running off the battery in the car, so power outages and all that kind of stuff will be very, very handy. So that remains on the car and was on the previous version. So anyway, hopefully that covers a decent amount of what the new car is all about. If there's anything that I've left out or you want to know, just let me know in the comment section, and I'll do my best to help. I think it's a very cool looking car. Love the front, love the wheels. I should really like that colour. So if you've managed to watch the whole video, I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking time to watch.